Hello, my name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today we're continuing with Saturnastra Chalon. This is chapter 16. No, bro, Chalon. He speaks Angles. Angles, you say, said Damian thoughtfully. When he was small, Damian had learned the language, but had forgotten most of it for lack of usage. And language is an inanimate ability, of course, and gathering his power a bit, Damian was able to conceive himself speaking English. And back in the old days, English was known as Angles. And Damian shook the old fellow, and this time he said, I wish to partake in the rational and civilized conversation if that is only agreeable with you. And with such polite introduction, Viktor was compelled to answer, I do not make it a habit of talking to my tenants. How so? Asked Damian. You speak to one, and that encourages the others, and given enough time, the tenants will spend more time bothering you than going about their business. And first and foremost, this is my livelihood and not my vocation. And if you wish to converse, then go to the temple ground, suggested Viktor. The priest do not wish to talk. They would rather we get taken away unless we pollute the world of the living with our petty wolves, said Damian. Make a priest then, said Viktor. We are trying to build my fighting spirit and tell me of an injustice in this world so that I might be inspired to tear this fool limb from limb, explained Damian. Viktor was thoughtful for a moment and then he said, A prostitute is the ruler of our great city. That's terrible. Never in all my centuries had I heard such a disgusting thing, said Damian, pacing up a bit. Chalon meekly rose. My people have nothing against it, and if people want to pay for their services, what does it matter? And none of the money she makes goes to waste, and the lady built a public houses and reformed the justice system, and those who are mean to homeless folks people receive swift punishment, and the lady you had to go to judge is a just ruler. And after reading Chalon's reasoning, Damian deflated somewhat, and shaking his head sadly, Viktor said, I thought you wanted me to anger your silly ghost friend so that he could kill you. And frankly, there are easier ways to one-off themselves. I'm not trying to die, I'm simply trying to fire up his spirit, and it won't do if he doesn't give it all his all in this do-over, Chalon. And frankly, I do not care, said Viktor, and I just want you to finish your business and be gone, and I miss the days when you could arrest a fellow for being mildly bothersome. And did this injustice really occur? Inquired Damian. Yes, La Imperia's mother was a real loon, and people had to walk on tippy toes around the court lest they suffer the wrath of the queen. And she was quite unlike her daughter, and a real regal lady, said Viktor. And what was her idea of punishment? Asked Damian. Since she saw her courtesans as a type of commodity, she would punish them by having them suffer cold or heat, said Viktor. And how does that work exactly? Inquired Damian. I do not know. I was a child by then, and this is just what my father said to me, said Viktor. For heat, they will put you near the fire to make you sweat till you pass out, and for cold, they will put you in a cold room without clothing, and then they will throw cold water from the well to make you shiver, wrote Chalon. That doesn't sound too bad, said Damian stoically, and Chalon noted some memory fragments from when we were slaves, and he analyzed the sensation of our forefather, and then he mouthed the word, You're an ass. And instead of saying this, he wrote, How do you feel about dogs? Indifferent, said Damian. Cats, wrote Chalon. They should all be destroyed, said Damian, chuckling, and he had already switched back to his native tongue. And he turned to say something else to Viktor, but he noticed that the old man was pretending to be asleep. And it was by this point that Chalon had realized that Damian was not in the mood for contrast or affinity or fighting for a just cause. He was just wanted a chat like some attention-starved fool. And as far as conversation went, Damian wanted to talk for the hell of talking, and this is not something we like to do. And all our conversations have a purpose, and if not, then we go on with our life. And there's like billions of other activities more amusing than idle chit-chat. And it was then when Chalon had a most singular idea, and he started writing us thus. You see that old man over there? Yes, said Damian. And what would you do if he suddenly dropped dead on you? Asked Chalon. I would look for a healer to fix him up, said Damian flatly. And there's a limit to how much a healer can do for you, and healers cannot cure old age, wrote Chalon. I suppose, said Damian thoughtfully. And what if I told you that there's already a cure for old age, wrote Chalon. All right, go on, gestured Damian. And what if I told you that the cure was in the hands of the creators of this world, wrote Chalon. The gods give it, the gods take it away, said Damian philosophically. You do not understand. I wrote creators, not God, wrote Chalon. And what if I told you that you were a little monkey inside a cage, and that you're too stupid to realize that you're in a zoo? And Damian was silent for some minutes, and he was letting that information that Chalon had offered him sink in. And telling key information to spirit doesn't really matter too much, and nobody takes it that seriously. And even if they were to reincarnate, memories do not pass on from spirit to spirit, and the new persona builds up upon the old one like adding a new layer to an onion. And this is why ghosts only remember the previous life and not all of the other ones that came before. And Chalon noted an interesting effect on Damian, and part of his face peeled back a bit, and the eye beneath was a different color, and the hair had changed to blonde as well. And when he spoke again, his voice was like that of a lady. And the spirit said, "This is no more idle chatter, and how do you know so much?" "Because I am a zookeeper, and we care for the animals and their little habitats, and we take recordings of them and sell them to other planets for our own profit and amusement," wrote Chalon. "Recording," said the spirit, not familiar with the word, and the face peeled back completely, and a smile painted on her face, and the language she spoke was now Spanish. "Ah, yes, recordings for the internet. I remember that, yes, it seems almost like a faraway dream." "And do you wish me to continue explaining your situation?" inquired Chalon. Damian did not respond. "Yes, we have a cure for old age and most diseases, but we do not apply the cure because it's not beneficial to us," wrote Chalon. And this statement caused a decent amount of layers to peel back, and he was saying the nasty version of what we were up to, and if it were up to us, we would have everyone live till doomsday, but that we would deplete the natural resources and create stagnation as seen within the old society. And it's impossible to keep in fear and balance to have a healthy, normal world. This is at least what the Arya Master thinks, and he's a true foreman of a little factory project, and the truth of the matter is that mass-producing magic users is easier said than done. And even with all of our advances in eugenics. So that's the long and short of it, of what the world of Saturnastra is like, what it was made for. Just to try to mass produce magic users, because magic users are an endangered species in the universe. I suppose it is an uphill battle to try to science magic users into being, and the next thing the spirit said was done in a chibi voice, and he said, "Is there no way for us to leave this zoo? You're welcome to try, Chalon. Just go to the forest of beginning when the Titan and Hyperion moons are aligned, and when this occurs, the veil opens, and you can either dig down or try to fly out of the planet, and if you fly out, you will probably get kidnapped, and if you dig down, you will probably get eaten, and the outside universe, as it is now, it is not a place for the weak." And the field peeled one last time, and it was by this point that Chalon was genuinely surprised, and the little observer child making the recording was amused too. And the face that the spirit chose to manifest was no longer human, and he was one of our good draconian pals, with the cute dragon face, and the gecko eyes, and the horns, and the minute wings, and the short tail. And the draconian brought his hands to his face, and he emitted a low moan that echoed through the graveyard and the world of the living. "And why did you make me remember?" "Why, when I only desired to forget," asked the draconian. And Chalon, forgetting to write this down, said with his telepathy, "I did not make you remember anything. All I wanted was for you to sign a stupid summoning contract. And how was I supposed to know that you were an Earthling? Draconians, reptilians, and the humans all came from planet Earth. The latter two had to head for space because of a meteor, and according to the records, it was summoned by the only magic user in the Draconian Society, and other records claim it was the doing of a reptilian. And the entire incident caused friction between the two super advanced races. Middle. They left the solar system and moved to a nearby system that had two Earth-like planets. And it was only later when the Draconians got curious enough about planet Earth that they returned to find that humans were going about human businesses." So like super advanced dinosaurs, they just left planet Earth when like the meteor came about. And this is all ancient history that requires no further elaboration, and the Draconians made a face that resembled a smile, and he said, "Contract, you say, for summoning battles and all that sorts of nonsense," said Chalon. "And we must battle first, as per the rites of this ancient ritual," and he added, "Are you not afraid?" "And there's no reason to be afraid anymore, and cancers no more, and life can finally be allowed to exist. And my people abandoned magic, and they thought it would be enough to bury the cross forever and to live under the yoke of cancer," said the spirit. "And I like they talk about cancer not like an illness, but like as a being that is as big as like the constellation of Cancer. Just a very big, giant, powerful being. Giant, like galaxy-sized double giant creature that can destroy whole worlds and whatnot. But it's ancient history. It's gone. I never would have imagined that one day it would all be over. Nothing lasts forever, said Chalon, and though given that it took an eternity or two, I can see why it felt like forever. The rest of the pieces of the spirit peeled off, and there was no more pollution from the previous lives, and he was his original self, his true self, and the spirit that was formed to go inside the vessel of the Draconian. And Draconian extended his hand, and he said, "Shall we do, a little one?" "Yes," said Chalon, shaking the scaly hand. And Chalon felt the rushing of water, and he saw the distortion of the light as he was taken inside the inner world of the Draconian. And he saw that the world that the Draconian imagined, and it was Earth back when the Draconian was alive, and there were the dinosaurs as well, but in the middle of the jungle shone a spiral obelisk. And it was common for Draconians and reptilians to build upwards in order to limit the amount of damage done to the nearby environment. And only now there were about 57 obelisks all over the world, and their height varied depending on the solidity of the ground and the age of the construction. And the one Chalon was looking at was about 3,312 meters, and these measurements were provided by the little observatory in Chalon, and his name was Wendigo. And he always showed an interest in architecture, and he was roaming the cemetery when he saw Chalon being taken into an aria. And it is protocol that at least two people enter areas, and since Chalon lacked a pair at the moment, it fell upon Wendigo to follow after him. And the reptilian structure was almost as tall as a red slate mountain from the Sierra Nevada. And why am I using as a comparison a mountain that no longer exists? Well, because it is quite photogenic mountain, and a lot of area masters use this mountain for the little worlds. And the eastern side has a nice looking lake. And now back to the area. And the building itself was made of magnesium alloy, and the iron was composed of magnesium, silicon, carbide, and palladium. And the fountain and the lower levels were forged out of lonsdalite. And according to the ancient records, the lonsdalite had to be acquired in the asteroid belt. And this mineral was not naturally occurring in planet Earth, and just from the blue exterior of the tower alone, it looked like quite a massive structure. And the Draconian was not there, however. His home was located in a dense jungle, and Chalon flew over the Cretaceous landscape, and from time to time he started to admire the dinosaurs. And while that he saw the Argiptosaurus, the Velociraptor, the Tanius, the Shibuya, the Nomingia, and the Chittipati. And Chalon was very familiar with this creature, and the reptilians and draconians had a lot of digital records from the old days. And located on top of the mountain overlooking the valley, the house of the draconian spirit was an upside-down pyramid. And the pyramid surface was made of glass known to us as SAM2X5-6330. And the material itself was a good old-fashioned iron sheet with electricity. And it formed a glass sheet instead of a dual metal type of metal, and it was certainly elastic, and when dropped it bounced. And the glass was designed to reflect nature, thus the person in the exterior could look outward, but those inside could not see within. And in the garden there was a collection of large round stones, and it depicted a constellation. And the interesting thing about it is that the constellation arrangement was the same used by humans millions of years later. It was the middle of the day, and the pyramid faced the sun, and beneath its shade slept an Utahraptor. And there were the large castles of the ever-popular Velociraptor, and we have been doing polls to see if we put dinosaurs back into circulation in Saturnastra. And the development has already been approved, and all that remains is to terraform the perfect ecosystem for them. And there are some ecosystems where they could thrive, but there are intelligent lives being formed in the mix, and the locals might actually wipe them out, and if not careful, or the latter might occur. And this is all a work in progress. And Chalon saw the Utahraptor, who regarded him with suspicion. And Ali Chalon imagined that the feathered dinosaur was suspicious of him, and the wind in the mirror at the bottom of the pyramid opened, and Chalon from inside, followed by Wendigo. And Wendigo got for us some shadowy paintings, and it was the interior details that were a bit sketchy. and they kept changing nature as the draconian tried to remembering, and there were a few items that were permanently solid, and certain memories touch the soul while others are ethereal. And it's usually the bad memories that scar the soul the most, and one of those scars was a painting that Chalon saw in the entrance of the clear elevator, and it had defined in great oars the constellation of Cancer, and there were patterns of colors all in swirls, and the style of the other alternating paintings reminded Chalon of the works of Joan Miro. And instead of canvas, the paintings were done on reverse glass, and the paintings had a glistering nature to them, and the pigments were made with casein, a type of milk protein. The elevator took Chalon to the top floor, and on the way he had a peripheral view of the laboratories-looking type of places, and there was a room that had several hanging clear glass panes, and the rooms were wide and open, and with no clear delineation between each team, and there was plenty of plants near the window, and those in the last row seemed to have been producing fruits, and some had flowers, and this room was where the draconian was waiting for Chalon, was covered with bees, and there was also plenty of nifty-looking butterflies with a warm orange color, and large black eyes on their wings for decoration. And the draconian spirit was quiet and pensive, and when he heard Chalon arrive, he said, not turning around, I have been thinking quite a bit. I don't recommend it, said Wendigo to the draconian. There is nothing to be gained from ruminating on the past. And on the past. Well, I think that's a good place to leave it, and then I'll finish the Saturnastra Chalon in the next video. Bye bye and God bless. Let me see.